Hi, so I'm going to talk you through what I'm going to bring for gear and how my bike is set up for the Fat Pursuit. Fat Pursuit's a 200-kilometer fat bike human-powered race just west of Yellowstone National Park in January. It's entirely snow on groomed snowmobile trails. It's mostly self-supported. There's only a couple of aid stations, so we have to be self-sufficient in taking care of our temperature and having water out there. Looks like temperatures will be between 0 and 25 degrees with snow over the course of at least 24 hours. Though this race and the weather could change, it's often in the negatives and snows quite a bit. So between the required gear list and what I've decided I should carry, knowing how my body operates in the winter, let's get into how it's set up and what I'm carrying. So I'm riding my Pivot Less Fat. It's a size small frame with Industry 9 80 millimeter rims mounted with 45 North Dillinger 5 tires. My drivetrain is Shimano XT brakes and drivetrain with an Old Man Mountain rack mounted to the back, the divide rack. And I have an Ergon SR women's saddle and Ergon GXR fat grips for extra padding and insulation on my handlebars. My bag system is all Revelate Designs bags, a frame bag, a large mag tank, a gas tank, the brand new Expedition Pogies, which are going to be super warm when it's 0 degrees, and have a vent in case I need to air out or cool down. A pair of older Nano panniers, and then I have some Hyperlight Mountain Gear stuff sacks to carry some of the sleep kit. So for this race, we're required to carry a certain amount of water capacity, a stove and fuel, a sleep kit. There's parameters around all that for temperature ratings, and it's all to keep people warm and with the ability to make water out of snow out there. So up in the front, I have a little foam pad that meets the R value and the size dimension standards for the race. That's rolled up and strapped with volet straps on my handlebars. And then on my rear rack, I have my Feathered Friends -5 down sleeping bag and a Montbell Gore-Tex bivy sack that doesn't have any zippers or hoops or anything. It's just a sack. And that's all that's in here. I'm not planning on sleeping, but if I need to, I will be warm because that is a pretty warm setup. My stove system, I'm carrying down in my down tube. I have a little titanium pot. And then in it, I've stuffed my spare socks so that my stove doesn't rattle. Not part of the stove system. And then I have in a little foam koozie, also to prevent rattling, my MSR pocket rocket. So that's the stove and the pot. In my frame bag, I have 4 ounces of fuel. This is all-weather isobutane. However, it is temperature sensitive, so it's in my frame bag so that before needing to make water or use the stove, I can pull it out and warm it up against my body or in my pogies. Also in my frame bag, I have a repair kit with things I'm less likely to use frequently, like a generic multi-tool with pliers, tire lever, plugs, bike multi-tool, derailleur hanger, spare chain, duct tape, a quick link, that sort of thing. And maybe the most important, a spare valve stem. We adjust our tire pressure a lot in fat bike rides, so that's actually probably the most likely thing to bend. And then most accessible, I have a pump that will add air to fat bike tire quickly and is easy to operate with gloves on. And I have zip ties because you never know when you need zip ties. And then in my left pogie, I have kind of body non-consumables, but toe warmers, KT tape, sunscreen, and a little lens cloth for glasses. And that stuff lives in this pogie where it's accessible, stays relatively warm, ready to use. And then this other pogie, I will keep snacks in the race that I want to keep warm. And I also tend to put a pair of liner gloves in there. As far as my clothing system goes, my system is based on layering, very breathable and very adjustable layers. So I start on the bottom with a pair of thin ride tights and a very thin merino long sleeve shirt. Over that, I have Patagonia Alpine Guide pants, which have a breathable vent and built-in gaiters, so I don't top my boots when post-holing. I have a Slope Runner shirt that cuts some wind, but is quite breathable and light, and it fits over my hydration vest. I have my hydration vest, which will carry my InReach for required race tracking, my lighter and fire starter in a pocket, and my phone will go in another. And then I have 2 liters in the Hydrapak Contour of water capacity that'll be against my body. And I will manage the hose under layers. I'll have a buff, Shimano buff, little leopard print headband, Shimano sunglasses that are good in low light and help with contrast in the snow. This jacket in the Patagonia Nano series line that is more insulative in the front and on the arms, but then is highly breathable and wicking in the back. A Patagonia Houdini wind jacket to trap heat and cut wind. And then if the forecast is looking more snowy, I will also add a shell jacket that I can pull over everything. My last additional bit of water capacity is a Hydrapak Stow. It's a 1/2 liter. And this I could fill and slide into that hydration vest to have a bit more capacity. I would drink this first so that then I don't have to manage it anymore. On my feet, I'll have liner socks and thicker wool socks and a thin plastic bag as a vapor barrier. In my 45 North Wolfhammer boots, these are 2 sizes larger than my normal size, so I have room for warmer insoles and my performance insoles, and the 2 pairs of socks, and my feet are still roomy. I've replaced the boa with laces so that I can better adjust where my foot is snug, so it's my heel's not rising, but my toes can still wiggle. One of the main strategies for keeping hands and feet warm is to prevent constriction of anything, and that's really easy to do in your boots, is to have them too tight. With those boots or with any clipless pedal for the winter, I choose a Shimano trail pedal. This platform makes having a snowballed boot a lot easier to get into and like to clear the snow from, and then to slide that boot right into. So that's why I choose those pedals. And then for electronics, we're required to have a headlight at all times and a rear light at all times. I'll have this Fenix rear light on the back of my rack, and that will be on for at least 24 hours. In the front, I have a little Fenix headlamp that will be on during the day, so that's not providing light for me to see, but it's providing light as a headlight for snowmobile safety. And then I will also have a Fenix HM65RT headlamp, which will have 2 batteries, although you really just need 1, but I want to back up for riding all night, which is right now like 14 or 15 hours long. I have a Coros Dura cycling GPS that will be, I'm really excited. It'll be my first event with this device and battery is not even remotely an issue with this because it can run for days and days. This will have my navigation on with a map from Ride with GPS and all the waypoints. I'll also be showing distance, time, temperature, things like that, time of day. And then lastly, we have kind of staying warm part 2. Those are the layers I'm likely riding in. I have a warmer hat that I can throw on. I have a pair of spare liner gloves so that I can, if my first pair get wet, I can put on a dry pair and then actively be drying my other ones under my jacket. I always have 2 pairs of liner gloves on multi-day winter trips. I have a pair of soft shell gloves that I can ride in that'll be warmer. A spare buff, because I use buffs versus tape to manage my skin on my face when wind chill. And then lastly, a large down belay jacket. I'm going big. I don't want to mess around with lightweight down jackets that aren't warm enough. Because if I'm wearing a down jacket or wearing more than what I have shown you, then it is quite cold and I need warmth. And so I'm bringing a big puffy. It's light and I have the capacity. And I know that if I'm stopped for more than a few minutes, I want to put that on as I'm cooling down. Then in my other pannier, I have warmer pair of mitts and goggles that I'll only bring if it will be snowing, which there's a good chance of that. And so that is my full kit for a 24-hour race. I'll also have food and water, but this is what I need to take care of myself and be safe in the very real deep winter of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem.